If you're managing a remote team and constantly following up, chasing updates, or wondering what people are actually working on, the problem is not your team, it is your system. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I manage virtual assistants regarding their one-off projects using Notion to track execution, hold them accountable, and make sure the right work actually gets done. And this is the exact system we run inside our 7-figure company every single day. Let's dive into it. So one of the tools that we use is this task tracker template that we built in our business. And I'll walk you guys through how this works, and I'll try to keep it as simple as possible. And you guys will be able to follow along as there's a link down below to be able to use this template. And a lot of these things you can adjust as well, so it's not fixed. I'm just gonna walk you guys through the thought process and what we ultimately built when it comes to working with our team, as we've been using this template for the past 3 years. So it all starts with the idea of the task. So let's just say, in this example, we're gonna create a website. So my team member is going to create a website, and we're both working on this task tracker template together. So this is an accountability tool for me to make sure that task is gonna get done. And so there's all these different views that I'll dive into later, but I wanna start with each status. So these are different statuses. So it starts with the idea, and then a task. We haven't started it yet, once it's approved or once we talked about it. And then on hold, I'll get into later. Next is review with manager. So let's just say in this case, we'll put all the tasks in here that we want to review. And then once, hey, it's approved, let's start it. So we move it to ready to start. And then say they have a lot of tasks here. We'll then say it has to go into progress. So when they're ready to start and they're actually working on it, they'll go into progress. And say it's an automation or whatever the case is, and they need to fix some things, they could be more specific and say, hey, it's testing process, so it's a little bit more than just in progress. They've built something and they're in the testing phase. And then from there, for the visual, and for me to see that it's done, I want them to say, hey, create a video, front end, or a screenshot, or some aspect to show me the website is done. So rather than going on a meeting, I like to be more efficient, where I like them to show me, and I usually use Loom, a video of the task being done. And so then all I can do, I could just use Slack, and I could see that video that they sent over, or I could just see the video within here. And I'll show you where we can add that shortly. And then once they create the video, they're gonna say awaiting approval. And there's all these different attributes that you can go into the task. And so you can click this little pencil area, and you can edit this in so many different ways, but I wanna keep it as simple as possible. So you click edit, and let's just say the video status, I created a video, and I'm gonna throw it into this task tracker. We're going to say the video is in the Notion card. And I call these cards, these are different cards. And priority, we could change the priority. Let's just say it's a high task. And so there's a lot of different things you could do there. So awaiting approval, say I watched the video, and I say, hey, this website needs some edits. So I'm going to put it back to edits needed. And so now on their end, they'll see all the tasks that needs edits. And so I'm actually going to go into the task tracker that we use for one of our employees currently. And so I'll show you what it looks like. But before I dive into that, say edits needed, they put it back to awaiting approval. And then once it's all set, publish the automation, or publish the website, or publish the task, whatever it is, and then it's done. So that's kind of A to Z of how we manage the task. And so to show you what this looks like, here are some tasks. There's obviously a lot more that I'm currently working with one of my employees. So you can see, hey, it's the idea, it's on hold, review with me before, hey, it's ready to start, now it's in progress, and then it needs to get fixed, or it's in the testing process, hey, these are the ones that edits needed, hey, create a video on it, awaiting approval, so these are the ones that I need to check out, and then and so on. And so that is just to show you how, like, when it comes to actually using it in our business. This is just one view, though, to manage the task. And I'm going to now dive into the attributes of the task. So let's just go all the way back to an idea. And when I click into the task, here are things I highly suggest you do. So one is you can say who assigned it. So say, for example, you have multiple managers manage this one person. You can show who assigned that task to them. So this is going to be blurred out, but you could see all the people that you can grab on who assigned that person that task. Next is, this is the status, so this is just showing right here. Let's see the other options that you can do. Next is projected due date, and I'll show you the due dates as well. So say you want a certain due date for this task, let's say the 7th, it'll show up on the card, so it's really cool. The finished video front end, so like I showed before, this video right here, it says create front end video, because that's how I like to see tasks being done, because I think it's a lot more efficient than having a meeting every time the task is done. I'd rather just watch a video and give them feedback to let them know, hey, make these adjustments. So that's one way just to save time. I highly recommend doing videos for your team members to convey tasks being done to you, and then you can easily just comment if you're using Loom on that video where edits are needed. So I do highly recommend doing that. But projected due date, that finished video would be right here. Task type, say it's an automation, whatever it is, you can be more specific. The effort level, we don't dive too deep into that, but that's kind of good to see if a task is taking super long, then you can gauge that by the effort level. Next is description if you wanted more information on it, and I'll dive into this stuff here shortly. But these are just different attributes that you could do on the task. And then there's due dates, and these are all these little other things. Error signal created, this is more of like automations that we have in the back end. This won't be in the actual real template, this is kind of fancy stuff. And then if we approve the task back in Google Sheet, if there's a Google Sheet on the back end that is associated with the task, but none of this is relevant, so I'm not even gonna fill this out because in this example, the task is creating a website, and then any notes. But this is something that I highly recommend everybody do, is within the task, explaining how to do the task. Sometimes it's very self-explanatory, so you don't need to explain it, but if you want or need, I would put it here. So I would give them the steps of what to do, or it could be a video here. And I got this from Buy Back Your Time, where what you should do is give them the definition of done. So what does creating a website actually look like? In this example, I would tell them to the T of exactly what that would look like. So what it would look like completed in this example, I would say there's an about page. I would say there's a landing page. So I'd just be super specific. So there's no ambiguity on when they give you the task, what it's supposed to look like. The more specific you could be on the vision of what it looks like, then you have a lot better process of not going to this edits needed section. So giving them exactly what you're looking for is very beneficial. So I highly recommend giving them like a definition of done or what it would look like completed. And then they could do progress videos throughout that process, different stages. You don't have to use this, but say this task had like multiple different stages, you can do kind of a to-do list here. And the edits needed, this is the section that I use as a manager. I'm like, hey, add me in profile section, or add me in about page, let's say. And then I can, let's say there's a list of edits, and then you can click it off, or he can click it off, and you can see all the tasks that have been completed or edits for the certain task. So that's very cool on what you could do. Another thing that we leverage is you don't want to give a team member 30 tasks all at once, because if everything's important, nothing is important. So I highly recommend just giving your team member 5 to 7 tasks to do at all times. And so they could just focus on those and accomplish that. And so what that actually looks like is I created a view. So say there was multiple tasks now. I'll show this through one of our current employees. Current all, so these are 5 to 7 tasks. And this is actually more. I'm breaking my rule right here. But there's like 7 here. You can see the ones that are in progress, there's only around 3, and then 3 that are edit needed. So she's kind of working between, let's just say 5 and 10. But when I go to current all, there's significantly more tasks. There's 12 ready to start, there's 8, and this is, can just be in straight paralysis for all the things that need to get done. So just focus on a few that really move the needle. So we created a view where it's only showing, and you can see this filter here, it's only showing the urgent and high ones, and ideally that only builds up to 5 to 10. And then all the other ones you can slowly add into this view. So let's just add multiple tasks. Let's just say these are all tasks. And this is really cool too. When we are creating this task template, you can see that automatically grabs a check mark because I created a template here where anytime I click a new, it grabs this template. And you can always just go in here and edit the template of, if I wanted to edit these things, or I can edit the icon. There's a lot of things that you could do there. we'll dive into, okay, I guess we're on the calendar view right now. So the calendar view, this is showing everything that has been finished. And so the reason why this is showing up in this finished section is because I added a due date, or rather the completed date. So projected due date right here. Let's see if the completed date is March 6th. So that's very cool. And I can move it and it'll actually adjust here as well. So there's different ways to adjust these tasks. And let's say for the same thing, I want to see everything that's due. So we can say in progress. And right now I can move it to the 11th. And now I can see, if say there's multiple tasks here, I can see all the tasks that are due for that week. And then you could adjust it as needed. And say it's going to take multiple days, you can drag and say, hey, this website's going to take 2 or 3 days to do. And you can see that it also adjusts here as well. So very, very cool on ways to see the tasks that are needed. Going back to this, to keep it super simple though, I would just go through this left to right, where things are at when it comes to the managing your tasks for your employees. And then there's also this inputs section. So to let you guys know, I really just use this view, but there's different ways to see these tasks based off of your preference. And so weekly finish, you can see everything that's finished for the week. And this is in a table view. So let's say this was actually finished. Let's go over here and say completed date is the 7th. And I realized the reason why it wouldn't show up is because I need to go into the done section. So anything that's done, I go to weekly finished. Let's see, this is filtering by what's published or what's done, and there it is. And now you can see what's done. And to say I wanted to add different columns to show in this view, I can just go click this little settings section, and visibility, let's just say the completed date. And there it's showing up. So you can add all these different attributes, these visibility sections. You can add all these different things to each view, which that's a whole Notion course, but just more of the power that Notion has. So that is the process of managing an employee through the task tracker. And lastly, I do want to mention Parkinson's law. So Parkinson's law is the concept that the amount of time that you give a team member to do a certain task, they're going to get it done within that time frame. So for example, say I created a task, let's just say it's in the in progress section, and I say create website, and I make it due in a month. Parkinson's law is saying, hey, that's probably going to get done in a month. The time that you give the person, that's when it's ultimately going to be completed. So I recommend, depending on when that task needs to be done, make the due date when it actually is needed or sooner than the actual time, because the time that you give them, that's the time that it's usually going to be completed. And I'll have a separate video on this, but regarding Time Doctor, I highly recommend, if you have a team member that's very project-based of creating tasks for them, using Time Doctor is a way to actually see that visibility of where they are at when it comes to the tasks that they are doing. So Time Doctor is another video that you can check out after this. So now I'm going to dive into the task tracker that we created for our business that helps us manage employees for tasks that repeat. And so this task tracker is for tasks that are one-offs, where there's a beginning to an end. And then this task tracker, which I'll dive into, is for tasks that repeat on a daily or weekly basis and or monthly. And so how this looks is you're going to click the new template, which I just did here, but I'll do it again. Weekly task, and I'm going to delete this. And let's dive into it. And I have actual tasks that we'll use here as an example. So how this looks on the employee or team member's side is that they are going to do the following steps. They're going to create the weekly task, and there's going to be a table for the tasks within that week. And I'm going to name it for this week. Let's say it's 3/9/26 to the end of this week, which is, and let's adjust this as well. So we could just say today, which is going to be the 9th, to end date is going to be the 13th. And so I just do it in both spots. Amazing. So now we have the weekly task for the week, and this is what's going to happen. Starting Monday, they're going to, and you could easily just create a task for them, and you could just adjust this by adjusting the template. But right now, how this is set up, and for the task in this example, is like a weekly report of, and I recommend doing this in general, especially for an executive assistant, have them create a video to you of what they plan to do for the week, and then at the end of the week, have them do a wrap-up video of what they accomplished. And that could just be a matter of them reviewing this task tracker to show you what they've done. But let's just say this is finished. Awesome, they did the report. They looked at selling items and just in general, and they looked at social media platforms for comments. So obviously these are just an example. And then you can see that this repeats. So for example, this repeats right here. It repeats multiple times. And so it makes sense to keep it like this. So as they go throughout the day, say it's Tuesday, they finish this. And this is really awesome where you can actually see at the end of the week. Let's go here. You can see the complete that's done, so 38%. So let's just say they finished the whole entire week. They did a few things here. They missed some stuff on Wednesday. And now when we go to inputs, you can easily just see the amount that was finished. So 53%, we could say 53% was complete for this week. And now when you go to the daily and monthly view, you could see, okay, for this week, they completed 53%. They can add any notes, hey, I was gone, or whatever the case is. And then this is a status function just to show, hey, this is the week that we're currently on. And you can say the type, this is the daily checklist, or rather weekly checklist, and we can adjust that. And then if you wanted a reminder, you could add that here. And you could add more columns as well. But to keep it super simple, what I like to do is I just click new. This is all they do, new, weekly tasks, and then they have a weekly view. And you could easily just add another task here. Let's just say it's connecting with Instagram followers. I'm just making up some stuff, but let's just say that was a task. Now they can easily just manage it and say you wanted it in multiple spots. Right now, this is an inputs view. It's the same way of this, but it's just showing a little bit differently. You could adjust it here. And you can see this task right here, connected with Instagram followers for Monday. If I wanted to make it so it's on all the days, so I'm gonna do Control-C, Control-V, and I'll just do it 3, 4, or 5 times if I wanted to make this for every day. And I'll just take out this one because it looks like the one automatically got added. And then let's adjust this. So we got Monday, it's due. Let's make it also Tuesday. Let's make it Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And now this task is going to show up on all of these right here. So right here, you can see it's right here, 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 here. And then you also can make these, say these are daily tasks and they have different priorities. You can add in the priority level. So let's just say let's say these are all high priority. So now they can easily identify what is urgent and what is not. And so now when I go to sort, I can sort this by priority, this weekly task. And let's sort by ascending of right there. Now you can see that it's the top one because I am showing that this is top priority. And say I wanted to actually be able to see what is priority. So I can go property visibility and show the priority. So then you could see that it's high. If I wanted to change the color, I can easily Let's just say it's green if it's high. And that is very high level. You can obviously do a lot of customization, but high level of how you can manage employees for ongoing tasks is using this template. And then let's just quickly finish up the week. Let's just say this is a new week. I can just grab the date here, and the date's not showing, so let's make that show. If I go property visibility, weekly date, awesome. And then we could say it's for today. And let's just do it for the following week. So 16th to 20th. So now I can easily identify that. I'll just rename this 3/16 to 3/20. And then we could just do the exact same process. We could say how much was complete, 67%, a little graph there. And this is an easy way to hold them accountable on tasks that repeat. And if you want to adjust this, you can easily go over here and click the edit template. So if I wanted to edit this, you can easily just do that. And you can see that task that I just created right here, it's not showing up. Connected with Instagram followers, it's not showing up for this week because I didn't add it into the template. So if I wanted to add it, so it repeats for every week, I would just make the adjustments in the template section versus the actually weekly section. Thanks. If this video helped at all, subscribe and drop a comment. Everything I just walked through and more lives inside our school community. Also, click the links below for additional resources and access. Thank you.